Welcome to SLCC Talk, or Slick Talk as we like to call it. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have brought with us the finest panelists that pizza, of course, can buy. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the college experience. Your college experience, our college experience, the tuition rise, and then also things like college textbooks. We also have a very special guest with us here in the studio today, but of course, Odassis, I'd like you to start things out and introduce our special guest for us.
Yeah, well, once again, my name's Odassis. Today we have the Executive Vice President of the Student Association, Blake, here with us. So he's spent a little time with us today. Well, today we were talking about a lot of issues: tuition rates, books, book prices, student fees. Tuition rates have never been higher in the history of this country. And there's been a lot of talk about political reform and legislation being introduced. And one of the big pieces that has been talked about lately is Bernie Sanders' legislation that he wants to get passed about free tuition for community colleges for the first 2 years of a community college, so you can get your associate or you can maybe transfer to a university. I think the numbers are $80 billion over 10 years, so it's $8 billion per year, roughly about $31 per taxpayer per year in order for everyone to get free community college there. And I know there's different associations. Bill Gates has a foundation that's coming out with free textbooks for your for your gen eds, and that's another thing that there's just been this huge push for free tuition. But what are some of your guys' thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's a pretty fantastic idea. I mean, I pay for my own tuition because I want to feel like an adult and all that. But if I had free tuition, I'd be like, yes, I'll take all these classes, get done faster, won't have to stress about money. And then, I mean, with free tuition, there is the fact that my little bitty paycheck will be a little bit tinier, almost non-existent. But you know, if it goes towards an educated goal where more people will have more degrees, we'll have more knowledgeable workforce, we'll be able to develop more and make new advancements in society, I'm all for that.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Knowledge is definitely power in this situation. I personally have a scholarship, and if I did not have that scholarship, I would either be in a crap load of debt right now, or I wouldn't be here. So I think that says a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've got a lot of immigrants and first-generation people going to college for the first time, you know, and that's, I think, going to raise the overall number of employed people in the country making a higher wage, which increases, you know, quality of life across the board for not only the generation but their children. You know, the more people that you can bring out of poverty are going to stay out of poverty. But you know, and SLCC offers both AAS, AA, and then AAS, which is the Applied Associate. I can't
Applied Associate of
something like that. But that's a degree that is geared specifically to go into the workplace and to get a job, which, you know, it's a terminal degree, so you don't have to worry about, oh, what am I going to do with this degree? I have to keep going to get my bachelor's. But the AAS is a good option for a lot of people because it, you know, those degrees that don't necessarily need a bachelor's. So, and SLCC offers everything from film production to digital media to dental hygiene, to vet tech. I mean, it's across the board, and I think that really shows a lot about SLCC and the quality of classes that we offer.
You know, I was about to say, I think, Tammy, you should maybe be the vice president. Talking so much about SLCC. Of course, one of the things that, I don't know if Odassis, you touched on this, but this is 2 years of free community college, so this wouldn't be at universities or anything like that. But, you know, I do want to bring in Blake really quick, kind of talk about your point of view on the whole concept and, of course, the Student Association's view.
My personal view is, I had a question at first when Odassis was mentioning that. I was thinking, well, if it's going to be offered free, who's going to pay for it? Like, obviously, when something's offered free, someone has to pay for it. So if you guys can kind of help me out understand that, like, somebody might be asking that question, so could you please?
Bernie Sanders, let's say he gets elected, first thing he's probably going to do is cut the military budget, which is, 56% of our entire country's budget. But if that is not the case and there's a new tax involved with trying to pay this, or taxes are raised, then, like I said, if it's just a flat tax across the board, I think there's something like 310 million taxpayers. That's not mentioning like sales tax or like state tax or anything like that. Then it's going to be roughly $31 per taxpayer in the United States. So
and we're talking $31 a paycheck, or $31 a year.
Yeah. Okay. So essentially, you know, if you're thinking, you know, two paychecks a month, all right, it'd be like $1.25, $1.50 per check that's going to be coming out in order for everyone across the board to have free community college. But I know there's a lot of people that worry about, like, is this going to be available for illegal immigrants? What's going to be the lowest standards you can do? Like, are there going to be any standards where, like, you have to have a 2.5 GPA or something like that? There are a lot of proponents that want to have, like, these set standards. So that's a big question.
Well, I was going to say, the state of Oregon actually has implemented free community college for Oregon residents. You have to be a high school graduate, you have to have graduated within the last 2 years, and you have to have graduated with a 2.5 GPA from high school. So that actually, you know, and some people don't necessarily want to go to community college. They want to go to university, and they've got a scholarship, and they've got a plan that way. But for people that aren't necessarily college bound, they kind of like, oh my gosh, that the community college offers tech programs that are a lot more realistic for people to get. And I think it's really geared for people that are just going into the job force.
So Blake, now hearing all of that and hearing that, you know, there is kind of a plan where potentially it would come out of $1.50 from tax-paying paychecks, and then of course there is a state in Oregon which has already established a system similar to this. You know, any thoughts and any feedback, of course, on the current SLCC situation?
So I'm glad that you asked. One thing that that they teach here at the Student Association is that we want what's best for the students. I mean, if this is going to provide the students an opportunity to get the education that they need to be somewhere successful, then by all means, let's do it. And to see that this would be like a small sacrifice for a big outcome, why not? They always advise that we do everything for the students, with the students, and no matter what, it's all about the students. So, like, I totally agree with this, and I feel like it's a great idea. And Bernie Sanders, I mean, smart.
I mean, you know, Ashley, you said that you have a scholarship, that if it wasn't for your scholarship, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't even be here on this panel with us right now because of that. And, you know, personally, I mean, I don't know about everyone out there watching at home. My tuition, personally, was close to about $2,000 this semester. So there is rising tuition costs. Has the Student Association done anything involved with that? Do they have any involvement in that?
From this year, no, we haven't had any involvement. We do only represent like the information. We would tell you and give you more information about it, but other than that, we haven't had any say with the tuition.
There's been a little bit with student fees, a slight increase.
That's student fees, not necessarily tuition.
Well, which is included in the, I guess, your $2,000 that you had to pay out there. Right. But at least for the student fees, it went up by, I know, at least was it $15 or $10 for the bus passes that are newly implemented for SLCC students, to where instead of it being $60 per month in order to get a bus pass, it's now $15 per month or $6 a semester. And I know that the students are paying that throughout their fees. So that's something already we're collectively paying for that's going to benefit, you know, other people that don't have vehicles or that are, you know, need transportation.
And you're right about that. I mean, you're right about the UTA bus pass dropping. However, with the student fees, there hasn't been an alteration to the student fees. Yeah, so there's been no alteration to the student fees. It stays the same until like 2 years from now when they will notify us. But as much as I know, there has been no effect to the student fees.
Okay, so nothing's immediate there. All right. Well, that's good to know. I know there's a lot of misconceptions about, you know, who's paying for these bus passes or what the students are actually paying for with their student fees there, which go in to tuition.
Which is important.
Yeah.
We've had a really productive conversation so far. We're actually getting close to that point where we're out of time. We didn't obviously get to cover everything that we wanted to, but if you guys just want to take maybe 5-10 seconds really quick to make a final statement, anything like that, we'll start with Steph.
All right, well, I think it's a great idea. It will have to have some tweaks in there, like, you know, higher taxes. But I do think the community colleges are going to have to make some changes with some of their prices, their food, their fees, maybe not. But, I mean, overall, it's a great idea. I just want to see if they fix up the little problems.
Blake, any final comments?
For me, this coincides with the mission statement of the college. I mean, we're open access. We're all about the community. We're all about the students. I personally think that I mean, students would be willing to come to college and come to school, so why not?
Tammy?
I think it's got a lot of possibilities, especially for those people that are going into the workforce, you know, heading directly to the workforce. And I think that's just gonna, you know, that's where I see it.
Ashley?
Great idea. I think the free education also needs to be considered in quality education.
Yeah.
And last man, Odassis.
Last man, I am definitely for that idea, but there needs to be some sort of checks and balances, some sort of standards, because guaranteed we're going to waste a lot of money with people coming in, maybe dropout rates or anything like that. So if we can improve on that process or making it a probational period to getting this free tuition, then I'm definitely all for it. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today here on Slick Talk, SLCC Talk. Check us out on our Facebook page. If you're not already watching on our Facebook page, it's facebook.com/SLCC Talk. Of course, thank you to Slick Food Services, for the pizza. Thank you, of course, to Blake for coming in on the show. And,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. We'll save you a slice.